Janet, Try It Like It Created, and today I'm going to be working with the Cricut foil transfer sheets, and I'm going to do it gold on a kind of a plum colored cardstock. And so I've cut my cardstock. My card itself is going to be 4 by 6 inches, and so I have cut my cardstock to be what did I say, about 5 inches by 6.5 inches, and we're going to foil pretty much a large surface of this. So I wanted to make sure that my cardstock was gonna be big enough for me to put the tape around it. And so I am opening up my packet of foil, and the next thing I'm taking out are these kind of sticker type tabs, and just peeling them off. If I can get it to peel off, there we go. Peeling it off and using it to hold my cardstock down onto my mat as extra. Oh, sorry, not my cardstock. It's going to hold the foil in place. So let me put that back and grab the foil. I'm working ahead of myself here a little bit. All right, so I am going to grab a piece of foil, and let's see, we get down to the gold, although I think the rose gold could look really nice on this as well. All right, I think that's going to work well. And then kind of corralling these pieces back together and putting them back in their package can be a little difficult because they're thin, so keep that in mind. You don't want to move around too much. All right, so I am now going to tape my foil down to my mat and my cardstock, and I want to make sure that it's nice and the foil is nice and taut onto the cardstock. So I want to just pull this nice and tight and stick it down without really rubbing too much on the foil to transfer it. And then we're going to be ready to set up our machine so that it will draw this foiled image onto our paper. All right, so I'm going to stick to the foil and then just give it a nice tug here. And you can see, hopefully, I know I was off camera a little bit. I'm having a hard time getting my mat under my camera. But hopefully you can see that this is now pretty nice and taut. I can tighten this up a little bit here just by pulling on it. All right, so that should be good coverage. So now I'm going to turn around to my Cricut, and I'm going to put my foiling tool in. We're going to be using the foiling tool with the largest head, and that is the one that has the 3 lines on it. So let me set all that up, and then we'll take a look at how it works. All right, so I wanted to show you that here is my tool, and here is the tip that we're going to use for engraving, and you can see that it has the 3 lines at the top. All right, and that's the point that draws, and so the other end that's kind of flat goes into this. So you're going to push the plunger in, load the piece in, it kind of snaps in place, and then let go of the plunger, and you can see that it is now in the tool. And we're going to load that into our machine, taking out the knife blade. So let me get that set up. So I want to show you that I have the tool loaded into the B side of the machine, and I have my mat loaded, and now all I need to do, since I've already sent the image over, is to push the start button, and it starts drawing. So as soon as it's done, it's going to take a bit of time. When it's done, I will do the reveal. All right, I want to show you what's happening here. So it has torn through this paper tape that came with the foil. So what I did is I stopped it. And I am going to go ahead and remove this foil. And we're going to save this because we can still use a lot of what's on here with other methods. All right, so I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to throw this papery tape away, and I am going to use some washi tape. Now, let's flip this over and see if I can save. Yeah, my cardstock is thick enough because I think this was like 110, maybe even 130 pound. So it was very thick, so the indentation didn't travel through. So I am just going to save this by flipping it over here and grabbing a new piece of foil out of my pack. And then we get started again. So, all right, so I'm going to put my used foil on the back side here, flip this over, and find another piece of gold here. So thankfully, we get enough foil in the package that we've got multiples of the colors. So, all right, so to set that aside now, we've got the gold here, and oops, sorry, I'm dropping stuff off camera here as I try to move that foil around. All right, and you can see the foil just transferred to my mat, so you got to be careful with this. All right, and that may hinder our design, so let me get another piece. Lots of mistakes possible, isn't it? All right, maybe we shouldn't be doing something quite so large here, but all right. Now, let me take a second here to put the foil away, because if I don't, it's just going to go all over the place with my luck. All right, so that package is closed up. All right, now I've put my foil on top of my paper here, and I am going to grab some washi tape, and I'm going to use my washi tape to cover the entirety of all four sides so that it doesn't lift up. And I can show you what that looks like here in just a minute. All right, now what we want to do is be careful with our tape, because it won't, from what I understand, it won't transfer the foil if you have your tape over the design that you want to use. So I don't know, this edge might be too close for us. We'll give it a go, and if it works, we'll salvage what we can from this transfer. So all right, I've got everything taped down again now, but I've got all four sides, and so hopefully this will not pick up on this. So I'm going to load it back into my machine and set it to go again. All right, while the Cricut is doing the foiling, and you might be hearing that in the background, I am going to go ahead and stamp Thinking of You onto some kind of tan type cardstock. And so I'm just pouncing here with the powder first, because we're going to be embossing, and I don't want the powder to stick where I don't want it to stick, if that makes sense. So my stamp pad is very dirty, but it will still work, okay, for what we want. So I'm just going to make sure I've got it nicely covered here, and I'm going to stamp Thinking of You. Make sure I've got a nice good pressure and coverage with this stamp. All right, and I can see that, but just to play it safe, I'm going to do it another go. So we're going to have two of them. I can always put it in my box of things to use later, but it doesn't hurt while we're at it to do more than one. So I have that set up, and let me just close things up here. And what I'm going to use here is this charred gold, and this is a really nice embossing powder from Emerald Creek. And so let me open this up. I've used it before, and I just need to grab a scrap paper, or I can actually just use my Teflon sheet here to put this down and then dump onto, so we can save what we're not using. All right. All right, so there you can see, and then I can just take a brush. Let me see where I've got one here. And this one's really small, but where I dropped the stamp, it has attached a little bit. So I want to tap that embossing powder off before I do my heating. Okay, so there we're attached. All right, and put my paintbrush away, and then I'm going to dump all of this powder back into its container. And it looks like I've got a little residue there, so I'll get that off into my trash can or suck it up with my vacuum. Let's see if our vacuum will pick this up. I got this on Amazon and I really like it. At first I thought I'm never going to use this thing, and I didn't until I started using it, and now I really like it. So let's just see if I can, yeah. All right, that's really useful. I saw someone else using it, and I thought, oh, I gotta have that, so I bought it. And then I thought, when am I ever going to use it? Well, there you go. I used it. All right, so now I am ready to heat this, and I can do so because I'm working on my glass mat, and it is fine to heat on that, but we want to start from the back. All right, so there we have it. Look how beautiful that gold is. Sorry, I was out of camera there. But we've got two. Now, I'm not going to cut these down until I know what we're going to, what size I need and where we're going to place them. So I'm just going to set this aside and wait for our card to finish. All right, so it has done transferring, and using the washi tape, sealing it off on all four sides really was the trick. So let's remove here and see what we ended up with. And it looks like that because it drew on the washi tape, some of the washi tape is sticking to the card. That's okay. We got a little tear here. I don't think that transferred very well, but let's see what we've got. Now, the nice thing about adding a sentiment on the top of this is that anything that didn't work well, we can kind of hide. All right, so actually I'm going to take this whole piece off of the mat. There we go. Then I can bring it in here, and we can now look at this a little bit easier. All right, and let's see how that foil did. Okay, that's really pretty, isn't it? All right, so it didn't go, like I said, it wasn't going to transfer. Here, can you see close enough? It didn't transfer well where the tape was on the card. So we're going to need to cut that down, which means we're probably going to adjust the size of our card as well. So let me do that, and then I'll come back and show you where we're at. All right, so even though I had to cut some of the design off the card, I chose, let's see, do I have any more that I had to cut off? I've got, yeah. So you can see here, I had to cut off a fair amount of the design because it didn't draw fully. But what I'm left with is this really pretty piece here. And you can see that my card is 4x6, and I was going to cut the card down so that it was even on all four sides, cut off more from two sides so that it just had a small little border around it. But really, just centering this in this space is quite pretty. So I think I'm going to leave it as is. And I love the gold with the brown and with the purple. So that looks nice. And then we really don't have anything here that we have to hide. So I can just add this, you know, wherever I want. So I'm going to square this up, and then we'll go from there. So let me line up my type here, and I'm looking for my magnets. I don't see them. So let me, oh, I've got a little bobble there that needs to come off. All right, so that's squared. Let me see where my magnets are hiding. Goodness, okay, there they are. All right, so I am lined up, and you can see what I'm doing here. All right, and then I need to bring in my ruler and go on a guideline here. Let's see, what does that one look like? Is there enough? I just moved a little, so I think I'm gonna have to bring that magnet down a little closer. All right, so if I cut on this line here, I might want to go even a little closer. So let's do that. We want to do, the reason I'm hesitating here is because I have this ruler set up for inking. And that's why the pennies are on there. All right, so I think that's going to do it. Now, typically, I would cover up the piece that I'm keeping and cut into the piece that I want to go away. I'm going to risk it here and just do a real soft line and do it a couple of times with my knife, just so I don't cut into something I want to keep. Okay, so there, you can see that that's pretty crooked, but we'll get it there. All right, so I'm going to move this down to a line, and then it looks like I need to go in between these two spaces here. Now, I don't know about you. I am not good at just eyeballing the cut. I really like to measure and use my grid lines. So you'll probably see me do this a lot because as a graphic designer, I had to be precise about what I was doing. So I have a lot of skills that I just can't let go of. All right, let's see if I can do this one. And get the ruler in here. Yeah. Okay, hold that down tight. All right, so that's our sentiment. All right. Now, let's see what this looks like on here. Do we want a vertical or horizontal card? I don't know. We're going to want to put that down. And then we're going to want to put our sentiment on here. And I'm thinking we might want to do it raised, because that is really, really elegant looking. Do we want it this way? With it raised. That's pretty too, but I think we're going to go this direction. All right. I'm set with what we're doing. So I am just going to hold my card down, and now I'm going to grab some double stick tape to put on here. Oh, that's foam. That's foam. All right, have an abundance of foam. Double stick tape. So let me dig in another place here. All right. There we go. All right. We'll use that foam tape in just a few minutes because we'll be using it on our sentiment. Alright, so I'm just laying down some double-sided tape here. And we're going to do our little foldy trick. I don't remember where I learned this, but I know that there are a lot of people who use this technique. So there we go. I like to use a pin. Let's see if I've got one here. I do. And a bunch of thread too. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is just work on lifting and tucking that down on all four sides. Let me know if you use this technique. Does it work well for you? And let me know who else you've seen use it, because like I said, I didn't invent it. Somebody did it, I saw it, and there it was. So, alright, I just took my magnet off. Didn't mean to do that. So now, alright, I can kind of eyeball. Okay, I think I'm going to like that. So I'm just going to push down those pieces. Let's just visually double check it and make sure it looks good. Alright, and so now I can pull out these pieces and it will stick down. So there we are. Alright, so now all we have to do is add our sentiment, and I do want my foam tape for that, so I'll reach over here and grab it. And do some scissors with this. I think we're going to need 2 strips. So I'm going to try to get close to the edge. There. Oh, sticky stuff. That's kind of what we want. Alright. There we go. And once again, we can do that same technique with this. Alright, so let's just kind of take a peek here, see where we want this. I think that's where I want it. Or do I want to go all the way to the edge? I'm actually looking through the camera to kind of get a further distance away to see what that looks like. I'm going to move it over some. Alright, let me know where you would have placed it. I don't know. I'm thinking this is where it's going. It's a little big, and I'm playing with it because it should almost be centered in this space, you know, because I really don't like centered, but maybe I like it over here better. Yep, that's where it's going. So this was a pretty straightforward, easy card. Used a couple of different techniques, right? We used the foil embossing, and then we used the heat embossing here, and I will come in with an X-Acto knife and pick off that little teeny bobble there. I know some of you, it's not going to bother you at all. And so there we are. I mean, I could go in and add, you know, some more elements to it by putting in like some sequins or something into the flowers, but I really don't think it needs it. And you know, here we have this like cardboard color that just turns out to be so elegant with the gold and the purpley plum color. So there we go.